Hello everyone, welcome back to The Mediator. I'm your host, Jonah St. Cloud. This is our first Fact Friday, and we're going to be talking about what the Trump administration has done so far. This is sure to be an exciting time. I have probably 12, 13 maybe topics that I didn't discuss last show that I am really looking forward to discussing with you. Okay, first thing though, I want to share this hilarious story I heard on the Ben Shapiro show earlier today. Before we get into all the serious stuff. So Shia LeBouf, as some of you may know, has pretty much abandoned his acting career to protest Trump, which, it's whatever, it's his prerogative. But he had a lot of right-wing people trolling him. Like Steven Crowder invaded his protest once, and did his show there. It's on a 24/7 live feed, so it was pretty easy to troll him at one point. But Shia LaBeouf kind of got tired of people doing stuff like this, so he moved the camera so that it's showing, all it's showing is this flag saying, "He will not divide us." And, it's pointing up at the sky, so you can't really tell where exactly it is either. So apparently, this group of these unemployed geniuses at 4chan one day decided it's their destiny to troll this live feed one last time. And so they set out to find this flag. Pretty early into the search, apparently, Shia LaBeouf was reported seen at some coffee shop in a small town in Tennessee. But, that narrowed it down a lot, but it didn't narrow it down, enough. He could still be anywhere in the state of Tennessee. So they started looking at star patterns and, the way the flag was blowing, the trails of the planes in the sky, etc. And they were able to gradually narrow it down to the point where they had someone driving around honking their horn until they could hear it on the live feed. Well, they finally managed to find this private property where this flag is being held. So naturally, they switched the flag out with some Pepe the Frog t-shirt. Now, I'm not really sure what Pepe the Frog is. I'm not even sure that it's called Pepe the Frog. I just know it has something to do with Trumpians. But don't really know too much about it. But they also put a MAGA hat on it. And I just find this hilarious that they would go to such great lengths to search for a single flag just to troll Shia LaBeouf. I don't know. It's just really funny to me. And don't worry, if you're a leftist, I'm going to be talking smack about the right soon enough because Republicans need a lot of criticism and trollery too. I promise, I know I passed a lot on leftists yesterday, but right-wingers, your time is coming too, partially today, actually. All right, so on to the important stuff. So we're just going to have to, we're going to go through this randomized list of stuff Trump has done so far in his presidency. The wall is the first one that comes to mind. So as you remember, probably, he talked about this wall all throughout the campaign. It was one of the first things he promised, that we were going to build this great, big, beautiful wall, and Mexico was going to pay for it. Now, I was always vocal about the stupidity of this. Okay, it's not like they can't just dig under the wall to get in. It's not like Minecraft where you just lay down some bedrock and you're good to go. They can use a ladder. It may be tougher for him, but, how hard is it to just take a ladder with you on your trip to the border? And all this would be okay if Mexico was paying for it, even symbolically. Maybe symbolically that they were going to help us out with illegal immigration issues rather than encouraging it. I don't know. But they aren't. Trump lied about that. Mexico explicitly said that they wouldn't pay for the wall multiple times. Trump said he had some kind of plan to get it through balancing our trade deficit with them. And, there's no evidence that he would be able to do that. Even less evidence that he'd be able to do that without a trade war. In fact, it seems very unlikely. And, everyone on the right was happy to just take that and run with it. But look, here's the thing. Liking Trump because you hate Hillary only goes so far. That doesn't mean that you should just blindly love everything he does and defend him constantly when he's wrong or doing things you didn't like. This quest to keep Hillary out of office didn't exonerate you and still doesn't exonerate you from demanding honesty from Trump and also being honest about Trump yourself. The right knew that if this was a Democratic candidate saying these things, they would be saying pretty much exactly what the left is saying about them now, which is that he lied and there's no way he's going to get Mexico to pay for it. All of that about honesty is especially true now, though. Now that the campaign's over, people like Sean Hannity and Coulter and friends need to demand that Trump not force the taxpayers to pay for his dumbass wall to keep his promises. Either Mexico pays for the wall or it doesn't go up. But, it doesn't fucking matter much, does it? Because, the wall's already started, so whatever. He did move a small step toward what I said, though. Small step in the right direction. With his other order that added more agents, broad enforcement policies, allowed states to help out. He probably should just double down on that rather than adding the wall as well, but you take what you can get, am I right? Okay, he also cracked out on sanctuary cities. So I really hate that these exist at all. Okay, so think about this. This is an argument between the federal and local governments over whether or not to enforce federal immigration laws. That's where we're at in this country. I hate it so much that cities think that they have the right to just shelter criminals and ignore the federal government. I can totally get behind the idea that some people were born here to illegal immigrants and have been here all their life, or they've been living here for some time, a long time. I get all that, and I would even potentially be in favor of amnesty for some that have been living here long enough on the basis of like a statute of limitation sort of thing, or just the fact that the only reason they were able to get in and stay was because of the failure of past administrations to deal with the issue. That being said, I find it reprehensible that so many people are staunchly in favor of cities blatantly ignoring federal law. It's just, okay. Anyway, he nominated Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court, so I really don't understand why there's all this outrage over Neil Gorsuch. If the concept of Trump wasn't associated with his nomination, I think people would generally like him. He's very constitutionally oriented. He got a unanimous vote when he was going on to the district courts from people like Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, etc. when they were on the Senate. Well, both of them are now suddenly turning around and saying he's a train wreck, but, whatever. I understand, though, that a lot of outrage comes over the nonsense where the Republicans decided not to even do a hearing for Merrick Garland, Obama's appointee, which was just a childish decision on their part. And, I would say, in that sense, it's understandable why they would be hesitant to support Gorsuch. But, I don't know, I was really happy with his nomination, personally. Either way, his hearings are scheduled for March 20th, so I hope he'll be confirmed. Okay, he also repealed an Obama regulation that pretty much prevented seniors who had trouble maintaining finances from getting guns, and also one banning lead bullets for hunting and fishing tackle. Now, I'm not really passionate about gun laws like some people are. I think that the government doesn't have the right to take them away from you, but I really wish they didn't. I really wish guns didn't exist in the first place. I support these repeals, but reluctantly, because the only reason I support everyone having access to guns is because criminals will get the guns no matter how much you ban them, and it's stupid to blame a crime on an object. It's the fault of the person who's holding the gun that they shot someone, not the fault of the gun. And furthermore, the Ben Shapiro argument that we should always be able to physically protect ourselves from government tyranny should the state of the country come to that. But I sympathize, too, with the leftist point of view on this a lot more than I do on a lot of other issues. So, okay, so let's see. He repealed an Obama regulation that raised the standards for automobile emissions, as well as approved the construction of those two controversial pipelines, the Keystone Pipeline, the Dakota Access Pipeline. The government shouldn't have the right to tell you how much gas emits from your car, or to prevent an industry from getting what it needs. look, I actually agree with the left that we need to start focusing on clean energy and, the environment and protecting from all the harmful effects that, we do and all that kind of stuff. But you don't do that through government regulation. The way they should be trying to do this is through the free market. I promise you that if they just found a form of clean energy that didn't hurt the environment and was also more cost effective than current methods, they would be golden. And all these issues that the left has with the damaged environment and global warming would be completely obsolete. But they'd rather just have the government force people to make the environment cleaner, and as long as they do that, they won't have my support, nor the support of the Republican Party, or anybody that identifies as right wing. Anyway, he also froze the $220 million of funding Obama had planned on transferring to the Palestinian Authority. Now, I was very pleased with this. Look, Israel is the most moral country on earth when it comes to war, bar none. Israel would literally call people in the places they were going to bomb before they bombed them to forewarn them and not hurt civilians. It's not Israel's fault civilians are getting hurt. It's Hamas's fault because they hide themselves behind civilians. If you remember the issue at the UN, where we decided to abstain rather than protecting Israel on the issue of the division of Jerusalem, it's pretty obvious that the Obama administration was excited to push Israel out of the way and ally themselves with the other Middle Eastern countries, Pakistan, Iran, and those sorts. The fact is, if Palestine dropped their weapons right now, there would be no war. And if Israel dropped theirs, Palestine would invade and murder them all. Israel has only fought to protect itself, so it seems to me we really shouldn't be funding their enemies. Plus, it seems to me this money would be better spent fixing the water in Flint, Michigan, which it seems that pretty much all politicians at this point have forgotten about. Okay, he withdrew from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is fine because it wasn't so great in the first place. This isn't really a big deal to me. I don't know a whole lot about it to be able to speak fluently on it, but what I do know is he really didn't come up with a replacement plan for it. So you're going to have countries like China coming in and stirring up trouble. What can he do? So hopefully he's not stupid enough to just leave a trade void with these countries, and he won't, just stop trade relations with them. But it's Trump, so you never know. Okay, he hit Iran with new sanctions for funding terrorists and doing a ballistic missile test, and that's good. I've never understood, by the way, how on earth this Iran nuclear deal was expected to work. We'll give you money and let you build your nuclear arsenal to a certain point, so long as you promise not to fire it at us. Have you ever made a deal like that with your kid where you tell them, we can watch TV so long as you don't promise not to eat any more cookies tonight? Do you really think they're not going to eat the cookie? I imagine probably half the time they'll just go ahead and eat it, right? But it's worse than even that. It's like you put a cookie in their hand because they say that they want to hold it, and you tell them they can hold it as long as they don't eat it. I imagine they would eat that cookie probably nearly 100% of the time. His hope and prayer that Iran will suddenly want to join the world stage and be peaceful when its leadership has expressly and publicly noted that they hate us, they think we're evil, horrible people, they want to wipe us off the face of the earth. It's nonsense. It's just ignorant nonsense. Okay. So he repealed the transgender bathroom order. Okay. So first of all, I want to say that I have great respect, and sympathy for the LGBTQIA, etc. community. However, this order is not great. In fact, it's really just not good at all. And a lot of people on the right won't agree with me about what I'm about to say, but here I think's why. Imagine you're someone on the right. All your life, you've been told that there's two genders. There's only two genders, right? And they're solely determined by your genitalia. And this fact has never been challenged for you before because this is a fact that pretty much everyone you've ever met has agreed upon. One morning, however, you wake up and open your phone and you see in the news that Obama, the president you didn't like to begin with, signed an order stating that if some guy thinks he's a girl, he can go into the women's restroom and vice versa. Do you think that this person is ever going to be open to the idea of transgender people using bathrooms of their choosing? And this is what should have happened. The scientific community releases all the evidence that they have, stating that gender is based solely in the mind, that your biological sex can differ from that. Then Congress either passes a bill or a case is taken to the Supreme Court stating that restrooms should be desegregated, no longer divided by whether you're a man or a woman, right? This would apply only to government-funded buildings such as schools, post offices, etc. Then naturally these places would make their restrooms more private because everybody would get really uncomfortable, and the private sector would adapt their restrooms naturally as well, because people would see the merit of single-person private unisex bathrooms, or even just stall walls that extend all the way to the ceiling and floor, right? Obama's solution was just to force it on everyone, and it really just hurt the movement, because the moment that you make anything a partisan issue, you can pretty much be sure that nothing about it will be agreed upon for a long, long time. Okay. He also repealed the order saying that employers can't discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation when they hire, and that businesses can't deny customers on the basis of their sexual orientation either. So the issue with this is twofold. One, it's unenforceable. Why a business would hire one person and not another is completely multifaceted, and you really can't objectively determine that sexual orientation played a role, not definitively at least. Two, businesses shouldn't be told by the federal government who they can and can't hire or do business with. The proper way to handle this issue is to call out businesses that discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation, and the free market will assure that they lose employees and customers as a result, because the bigotry will drive people away naturally. Okay, I talked about Trump Care last show, so I'm going to skip over that. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is his budget. Okay, so this budget, like everything Trump does, is partially good and partially bad. So he raises his defense spending by $54 billion. I mean, I support this as a concept, but tentatively under the circumstances, because my understanding is we spend more on defense than the next 6 countries combined, on the list of who spends the most on defense. And if we have to spend $500+ billion to keep those, countries in check, to be the dominant military force in the world, and we still aren't spending enough, then we need to focus on cutting down waste and making it more efficient rather than just pouring more and more money in. In the end, though, is it just a reversal of Obama's cuts, so it's not like it really changes anything too terribly much. He targets overstaffed bureaucratic agencies, so like the IRS, the EPA, etc. He also has this $1.1 trillion infrastructure plan. I guess I don't hate this, but I'm not fond of it either. To me, this should be the state's responsibility. Plus, this is just like an insane amount of money. And, I want to point out as well that all you Republicans who are suddenly in support of this infrastructure spending, but hated it so much when Obama proposed one for like $250 billion less, try some ideological consistency every once in a while. But anyway, he's also planning on cutting arts funding, PBS, NPR, stuff like that, which is beautiful. The federal government doesn't need to be spending any of my money to support any of that. I don't care if all they need is 12 cents a year. It's a matter of principle, You don't need to be funding things, like nonprofits and subsidizing individual businesses. It's just not something you need to do. There's also that Mexico City policy, and I put it under the budget category because it's, a money thing. But apparently this policy prevents spending on international abortions. This was a big deal to everyone for some reason, but it really shouldn't have been. It was instated by Reagan, repealed by Clinton, reinstated by Bush, repealed by Obama, and now reinstated by Trump again. So I mean, it's just going back and forth depending on who's in office. The government should not be in the business of giving to charity of any sort to begin with, especially not foreign charities, and even more especially not foreign charities that perform actions that are already controversial here to begin with. If they have enough extra money to start giving to charity, then they should just cut my taxes so I can have that money back and give to charity myself. Anyway, none of this will even close to even out, especially with the infrastructure spending. You know why? It's because he won't touch entitlements. Everyone's always scared to mess with entitlements because they think, whatever they do, they're going to lose favor with the voters. But someone's going to have to bite that bullet, or we're going to go bankrupt. So, we can't sustain entitlements as they currently are. Period. End of story. All right, so I think we got pretty much everything. But if there's something important I missed, hit me up at sagachefstories.com and hit the contact page. I'm happy to announce as well that as of today, we are now available and searchable on iTunes. So please subscribe to us there and give us a rating and review, preferably a good one. And we will really appreciate it. If you don't have an Apple device, though, never fear, for we are also available on Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and more, more to come, as well as our website, sagachefstories.com/content, sagachefstories.com/content. Please also visit us on Patreon, patreon.com/themediator, patreon.com/THEMEDIATOR. Donate today. Any monthly donation of $5 or more lets you submit your ideas for topics for me to discuss on Fact Fridays, or you could submit memes for Memes Day Mondays. Anyway, thank you all for listening. I'm Jonah St. Cloud, and this has been The Mediator.